let's start. Now, deep study sessions. This is the, the core of what I'm going to talk about in the next couple of minutes. But before we talk about what exactly is deep study and what exactly are deep study sessions, if I ask you, how do you measure your productivity now? If I ask you how productive was your day, what measure are you going to use? Most students talk about the number of hours. You are likely to tell me that, sir, I studied for 10 hours. Today, it was a good day. Or you might say that I studied for 14 hours. It was a great day. You might also say I could study only for 1 to 2 hours and it was not so good. But basically, we tend to use the time as a measure of productivity. In fact, a very common question that gets asked by the students is, sir, for how many hours should we study in a day? And the same question they ask to the toppers also. I mean, when we interview somebody and when we ask the students to let us know what would they want to ask their seniors, the commonest question is, for how long did they study? For how many hours did they study? Because time is considered as the quintessential thing to measure the productivity. And related to this is the fact that you must have seen certain students around you who study only as much as you do, but their output is much more. Their results are much better. We sometimes call them as intelligent student. We sometimes say that their memory is better. We can use different kind of adjectives. But one of the most important reasons why these students get better results with the same amount of time is their ability to go into deep study sessions. We'll understand more about it. So, if we talk about the productivity, as I was saying, that most of us only think of productivity in the terms of time. But an equally important, perhaps even more important, is the intensity of your focus. Intensity of the focus in those study sessions. So when you said that you care only about the time, you were wrong, because productivity depends not only on the time but also the intensity of focus, and this is something that most of us tend to ignore. We don't really work on it, and this video is all about that. So let me ask you this thing. For you, what does an average study session looks like? If I were to plot it on the y-axis, I am plotting the focus, and on the x-axis, if I am plotting the time. How does your average study session looks like? Say you have been studying for 60 minutes, 1 hour sessions you are having. And say after watching this video, you start studying. When you start studying, your focus is not that great. Why? You would still be thinking about what I said. Or say, let's not take this example, let's take another example. Say you watched a funny Instagram reel, or you have been watching a series of funny Instagram reels, and then you say enough is enough, let me start studying. You start studying, your focus is not so great to start with. You continue studying, say this is 5 minutes mark, this is 20 minutes mark, this is 40 minutes mark, and this is 60 minute mark. You continue to study, the focus starts getting better, and after say 10 minutes, you have a notification. Notification on Instagram or say WhatsApp. Now you stop studying, you look at that notification, say it's on WhatsApp, you have gotten a message from one of your friends. You check that message, your focus immediately drops down to 0. You spend 5-7 minutes with that message and then you again start studying. Again the focus starts to build up, and now it is getting better. Now again you suddenly had that urge to check your YouTube for a second or Instagram for a second. You tell yourself that it will be quick. You quickly open your Instagram, you say watch a 60-second or 30-second reel, what happens to your focus? It again goes down. And then again you start studying, again it has to build up. So basically what I am trying to show you here is, this focus gets severely impacted by these distractions. This focus gets severely impacted by these distractions. It's not that you start studying, you get at the highest focus level. You take a break and then after 10 seconds you start studying again, you again start from the highest level. It doesn't work like that. How does it work? It slowly increases, then falls down because of a break, and then it again takes a lot of time before it goes up. Again it goes down. So you spend very little time at the peak of your focus or attention, and this is what we call as a shallow study session. You studied for 60 minutes. Out of those 60 minutes, you were hardly in the deep focus mode or the highest focus for 10 minutes. Rest 50 minutes you were just going in and out of that highest level of concentration. You know what is the worst part? You still had that illusion that you did study for an hour. You were just looking at the time. According to your calculation, out of those 60 minutes, you took only break for 5 minutes. So in your mind, you were working hard. You had a good study session. But in reality, it was just 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And understand the concept of attention residue. We do not go from one task to another and have the full focus in the next task immediately, as I was just explaining a couple of minutes back. When you watch an Instagram reel for 30 seconds, or if you watch a series of Instagram reel for 5 minutes, and then you start studying, for the initial period, significant period of time, those Instagram reels are still playing in your mind. They are still catching hold of some part of your attention. Only the remaining focus is getting in the studies. And it takes some time before you get into that study mode. But then something else happens. You start talking to one of your friends or something, some message comes on WhatsApp, and again your focus goes down. So this is what we call as attention residue. Some attention keeps engaged in the last thing that you were doing, and you don't have that component of attention available for whatever you're doing, in your case studies. So this is what we call as shallow study session. Now we talk about the concept of deep work. The concept of deep work has been there for years and decades, but recently, in the last couple of years, Carl Newport wrote a very famous book, Deep Work. If you have time, in fact, I would advise you to read it. It's a beautiful book. And he made the concept of deep work more popular. So what is deep work? In deep work, basically, you try to achieve maximum focus, maximum attention by avoiding all the distractions. It's a state where you try to hit the maximum attention possible, maximum level of concentration possible, and how you do that? By avoiding all the distractions. And when we use this deep work while studying, which is what you are supposed to do, we call those sessions as deep study sessions. The important thing about deep study sessions is, remember the equation, productivity is equal to time into intensity. Even if the time remains same, by indulging in deep study sessions, you are increasing intensity significantly, and by increasing intensity significantly, you are increasing your productivity significantly. So that is why deep work is so important. But deep work is also very difficult. Deep work puts a lot of pressure, a lot of stress on your brain. See, you're trying to, forget everything else and focusing on one thing. And that is cognitively demanding. It is difficult. That is why you cannot have too long deep work sessions. Probably something around 40 minutes to 60 minutes is what should you start with. People who become used to it may spend like 90 minutes sessions, but for most of the people it is something like 40 to 60 minutes, which is optimal, at least in the beginning. So just by understanding this concept of deep work, nothing is going to change. We'll have to talk about the practical aspects. What can you do in reality? What can you do actually to get into this whole idea of deep work? Removing distractions is tough. It has always been tough. It will always be tough. See, our mind wants to engage into things which are not too difficult, not too demanding, entertaining, and in general fun. Have you considered why we tend to spend so much time on the phone, especially with all these apps like Instagram and YouTube? Have you ever thought why Instagram is promoting reels so much and YouTube is promoting shorts so much? Because that format is what your brain would like. 30-second or 60-second videos which are entertaining, and then they keep on changing. With every video your mind keeps on getting little kicks, and kicks are coming. It's all entertaining. You don't have to put too much effort. Everything is hunky and dory, right? And that is why your mind likes it, and that is why your mind is accustomed to it, and that is why it is so difficult to get rid of those things. Also, if you think that just on the basis of willpower you will be able to make a lot of changes, it's not going to happen. Many times what do we say to ourselves? From today I would not use phone a lot, or from today I would stop scrolling Instagram. But 20 minutes later you are again on your phone scrolling on Instagram. If you rely on willpower, remember it is finite. When you're sitting on the chair after having decided that you would not spend time on Instagram, the first time that thought comes in the mind, that urge comes in the mind that let me check the Instagram, you remind yourself, no, I would not do it. You continue studying. 15 minutes later, again the thought comes, let me check it for 5 seconds. Again you say, no, I just decided I would not watch Instagram. But 40 minutes later, when the third time the urge comes, now the willpower is all consumed. You are left with no willpower to stop your urge, and without thinking, you open the Instagram and you are back to the old ways. So you just cannot depend on your willpower. You'll have to take certain actions. And most of our actions have to focus on killing the ultimate distractor, which is the mobile phone. People spend loads of time on their mobile phone, and it is true for everybody. I think almost every person is struggling with this phone thing, including me. I keep on finding new ways to cut down on my phone time. It's not that great, it's not that much, but still I would like it to be even lesser. So we'll have to devise practical strategies to cut down on your phone time, and this is something that I have started using. I found this app Focus to do on while scrolling through one of the videos or one of the articles. So I think there must be many other apps like this. You can find any app. I have got no interest in promoting this particular app, but I use it, so I am telling you about my experience. The best thing that I found in this app, which in all likelihood would be present in others app, is there's a mode called a strict mode. Now in this strict mode, what it says is, or how it functions is, it says that you flip the phone. What does it mean? So I have this phone in my hand. I say that I am going to have a 45-minute study session, and I activate the strict mode. It asks me to flip the phone. I have to put the phone facing downwards. So I flip the phone and the timer starts. So for next 60 sessions, the timer would continue only if the phone is flipped. If I suddenly have an urge to check my social media profile, if I turn it backwards, if I look at the screen, it will give me a warning. It will allow me 10 seconds to keep it back. Otherwise, my whole session would come to a stop. So even if I have an urge, I immediately get reminded of the fact that I am in a session and I put it back. So this is something that I loved in this app. I am sure there must be many other apps who would be providing the same service. Find one of these apps. It works good for me at least. More importantly, say I had a 40-minute study session, or say I had a 60-minute study session, deep session. Now, after this session, what do? We say that, okay, let me relax a bit and let me go on social media or WhatsApp chats with somebody. The problem is between the first session and the second session, I may have decided to take a break of 15 minutes, but many a times it ends up being a break of 1.5 hours. Why does it happen? Social media has been designed in such a way that it is extremely addictive. Once you start getting those cheap shots, it's very difficult to get out of that mode. And again, we'll have to do something to stop this. Just telling yourself that, okay, from today I would not take longer breaks is not going to work. Why? Willpower is finite. Willpower is not infinite. So again, we'll have to use something, some kind of method or some kind of strategy to decrease the time that we waste between two study sessions. Again, I have found this thing quite effective. There is an app called as Digital Wellbeing in the Android phones. It comes pre-installed. It's free of cost. I'm not sure whether there is a counterpart of this app in Apple or not. I'm sure there must be. But the good thing about Digital Wellbeing app is it has got a mode called as focus mode. And in this focus mode, you can choose certain apps which would not work in the focus mode. So say you put all the social media apps, you put that setting where you do not allow any of the social media apps to function during the focus mode. You say Instagram won't work, you say Facebook won't work, YouTube won't work. Now what happens is, say you have put the focus mode on and say you again wanted to look at Instagram. You open the app. The moment you open the app, it tells you that the focus mode is on. And then it gives you an option, do you want to use Instagram for 5 minutes? Say you really want to see Instagram. You click on that 5-minute thing, you start scrolling on Instagram, you forget everything about the studies, you are now totally deep into that scrolling mode. Exactly after 5 minutes, Instagram would close on its own. So what is happening here? After 5 minutes, the app is stopping you from getting lost in the endless scrolling mode. So now the 15 minutes actually remains 15 minutes. It does not become 1.5 hours. Again, I want to remind you that you'll have to use certain things. Just willpower is not going to help you. Deep study sessions are exhausting, as I said. After spending 60 minutes in the deep work mode, you will feel exhausted. You have to ensure that all the distractions are gone and you are studying. So they are exhausting, and that is why it is very easy to forget this whole concept. It is very easy that you go back to that shallow study mode, that shallow work mode, or the shallow study session. And we know that the shallow study sessions are killers of productivity. So you have to again devise the strategies that you keep reminding yourself about this deep work thing. What can you do? Use social pressure. Now this is something that I have borrowed from what we do with addiction patients. Many times when we ask or when we are helping a person to quit, say, smoking, we tell them that announce a quit date. Tell everybody in your family that you are going to quit smoking from Jan 1st of January. Tell everybody that, your friends, families, close family members, distant family members. Why? Once you make that announcement, you are under a kind of pressure to walk the talk. Similarly, about deep study sessions, you can tell it to your family members. Say you are studying in your room, your mom comes, she wants to say something, tell her that, Mom, I'll talk to you later, I am in deep study mode now. And she'll ask you, what is this deep study mode? You tell her that, Mom, in this deep study mode for a span of 40 minutes or 45 minutes, I do not do anything but focus on study. Your friend calls you, you tell him that you cannot talk to him as of now because you are in the deep study mode. He again asks the same question, you respond what deep study is. How does it help? Tomorrow if you stop doing it, probably your mother will remind you of it, or your friend will make fun of you that what happened to your deep study mode, and that will remind you to get back to the deep study thing, because it's going to happen. These things are difficult. In all likelihood, after spending a day or two in these things, you will forget about them. You need to be reminded about these things again and again. And that is where we talk about a very important thing, feedback. I cannot stress more upon this. This is so important. What is feedback? You have to keep giving yourself a feedback. What can you do? Put a piece of paper on the wall or buy a whiteboard, or maybe on your table calendar. This is what I do. I have a whiteboard right in front of my desk, and every day, say today is 30th of November, I write how many sessions I had of deep work. I have to remind myself every single day. So when I sit on the chair, it is right in front of me, and it keeps on giving me a feedback. How am I doing? If I started with 3 sessions, and if I am now hitting 7 sessions, I am doing good. Important thing to remember is, if on a particular day you do not study at all, then remember to put 0 in front of that day, right? Why? We want to use both positive reinforcement as well as negative reinforcement. What is positive reinforcement? The frequency of a behavior increases because that behavior gives you pleasure. So when you write 7 in front of a day, you feel good about it. You feel that I really use this day. So you have more motivation to get a similar number the next day. A behavior which made you feel happy is likely to be repeated more. And what is negative reinforcement? Something which makes you feel unpleasant, you try to avoid it. Something which is making you feel unpleasant, you try to avoid it. So if you see 0 written on the board in front of you, you do not want more zeros. And that is why you are kind of pushed into working. So this is what is feedback. And see, it might appear gimmicky to you, it might appear childish to you, but these things work, and they work like a charm. Irrespective of what your age is, whether you are a 15-year-old school student, a 23-year-old medical student, or a 35-year-old teacher, these things work. They always work. Lastly, setbacks. Spelling mistake there, but setbacks. Whether you are making a timetable, whether you are making a plan, or whether you are planning to start with something like deep studies, deep work, deep study sessions, remember that there would be setbacks. Do not get too discouraged by the setbacks. When you are not able to follow the timetable, all that you have to do is ask yourself what went wrong, or simply tell yourself that today was a bad day, let me again start, right? Don't just stop doing things because you failed once or twice. Setbacks are bound to happen. It's bound to happen that you would forget all about the deep study, deep work after a couple of days. But by ensuring all those calendars, all those whiteboards, talking to family members, you ensure that those things will keep on coming back to you. And when you are reminded again of those things, again go back to following them. Just because there was a setback doesn't mean that you stop doing it. So I am leaving you with this very important terms, deep study sessions, where you forget everything else, you focus on it, you focus on the studies, focus on the work, and you remove all the distractions. Scientifically, we say that you know about neuroplasticity. The circuit which gets used more and more tends to become better and better because there are more synaptic connections getting formed. So when you are talking to a friend, when you are focusing on the phone also, when you are studying, and when you are also thinking about something, multiple circuits are firing at the same time. But when you keep everything aside and you are focused only on studies, only one circuit is firing again and again. That circuit keeps on becoming better and better. And that is why you keep on becoming better and better in the deep work sessions or deep study sessions. It takes practice. Probably you will start with 1 study session or 2 study session and will get tired. And probably 3 months later or 2 months later, you will be able to clock 5 or 6 study sessions, right? So it keeps on becoming better. These are the small habits that get formed as you continue practicing them. And if you can do this, it is going to have a remarkable impact, a significant impact on your productivity, and in your case that translates into a better result and a better rank. So I hope that I was able to give you something important. As I said, many of the things that I told you have been taken from the very nice book, a beautiful book, Deep Work by Cal Newport. And if you are preparing for the entrance examination, there is no need to go through the whole book, but later on you might just give it a read. Keep studying hard, all the best, and may God bless you all.